I was born and raised in the West. When I think of the western United States, I think of majestic mountain ranges, never-ending coastlines. And I think of the people with spirits strong as the rivers and hearts as fiery as the desert sun, thriving in a land that's not always hospitable. Hidden West is about the history, people, and places that make the West so fascinating. Won't you join me as I share some of their stories on YouTube, starting this January? Welcome to Martha Runs the World, a podcast with a new take on running, fitness, and all things health-oriented. I'm Martha Hughes, your host, and each week I present a new topic that is of interest to all runners. Hi, and welcome to episode 358 of Martha Runs the World. Thank you so much for joining me this week. I truly appreciate it each and every week. It is Thanksgiving Day week in the U.S. I know Canada has it in October, but in the U.S. it is the week we look forward to eating lots and running. Yes, Thanksgiving to runners is all about turkey trots. But I'm going to go back and talk about why we even celebrate Thanksgiving and how it started. Thanksgiving today doesn't have a whole lot of connection with the first Thanksgiving that happened in Plymouth, Massachusetts, 400 years ago. Originally, it was a regional observance in colonial New England, and it was a solemn happening. Rather than a day of feasting, it was a day for fasting and quiet reflection. Thank goodness that changed, right? Eventually, the states and the federal government proclaimed days of Thanksgiving at irregular intervals. But it wasn't until mid-18th century, after decades of lobbying and pushing the government by magazine editor Sarah Joseph Hale, that a national Thanksgiving holiday began in the whole United States of that time. As the holiday took root in the U.S., so did the need for a distinctly American origin story. And the Harvest Festival 200 years earlier was remade as the first Thanksgiving. So it's not really how it happened, but we need a story to match what happened. The federal Thanksgiving holiday has its roots in one of the country's most bittersweet moments of division, the Civil War. On October 3rd, 1863, President Abraham Lincoln issued this Thanksgiving Day proclamation to help unite a war-weary nation. Lincoln was not the first president to issue a Thanksgiving proclamation, but his order set a precedent to observe the last Thursday of November next as a day of Thanksgiving every year for decades to follow. I like doing a special episode for Thanksgiving, as I have every year of this podcast. It is my favorite holiday, and even though I celebrate it probably different than many people, I still enjoy myself, and I appreciate the meaning that goes into the day. Now, during the autumn of 1621, at least 90 Wampanoag tribe members joined 52 English people at what is now Plymouth, Massachusetts, to mark a successful harvest. It's remembered today as the first Thanksgiving, but that's probably the only thing that it has in common with what we do today. Many assumptions about the festival at Plymouth and its connections to Thanksgiving traditions are based more in fiction than in fact. No, they did not have a turkey trot back then, did they? No. The first Thanksgiving story emphasizes a peaceful exchange between the Pilgrims and the Wampanoag people, yet seldom includes a Native American perspective. Also, it is rarely acknowledged that peace was short-lived. Within a generation, war would erupt, and the Wampanoag would ultimately lose their political independence and much of their territory. And a lot of that is sad, what happened, unfortunately. This is why one of the reasons Thanksgiving for some Native Americans is not a celebration, but a painful reminder of the devastating impact of European colonization on indigenous people. And we do have to remember that as we go forward. In 1939, the last Thursday in November fell on the last day of the month. Concerned that the shortened holiday shopping season might dampen the nation's economic recovery from the Great Depression, President Franklin Delano Roosevelt issued a presidential proclamation moving Thanksgiving to the second to last Thursday of November. So it got moved again. 16 states refused to accept the change, and for the next 2 years, Thanksgiving was celebrated in 2 different days. To end the confusion, Congress passed a law in 1941 establishing the fourth Thursday in November as the federal Thanksgiving Day holiday. And fun facts about Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving leftovers led to the first ever TV dinner. In 1953, food corporation Swanson overestimated how much turkey would be consumed on Thanksgiving and had to get creative with 260 tons of leftover poultry. Using 5,000 aluminum trays and an assembly line of hand packers, they created a Thanksgiving-inspired meal with the leftover turkey, cornbread dressing, gravy, peas, and sweet potatoes. The dish was sold for a grand total of 98 cents, and in the first full year of production, they sold 10 million of them. That was incredible, and I remember eating that, not way back then, but I remember as a kid eating that. It was always a special occasion when Mom and Dad were going out to eat or out to theater, and I would be babysitting my brother, and we would get TV dinners. That was always a real good treat because we didn't have those when Mom and Dad were in the house. No, never. Only when they were gone. Benjamin Franklin was very pro-turkey. It wasn't so much that Franklin thought the bird was delicious, but more so that he admired the animal's qualities. Surprisingly, Franklin thought the turkey should be the U.S.'s official bird rather than the bald eagle. And this is what he said: "I wish the bald eagle had not been chosen as the representative of our country. He is a bird of bad moral character." Probably because the bald eagle is, it eats a lot of carrion and a lot of, he's kind of like the vulture of the raptors, shall we say. The menu of the first Thanksgiving in Plymouth in 1621 likely included lobster, seal, and swans. I'll take the lobster. Pass on the rest, thank you very much. No, turkey did not make it to the first Thanksgiving dinner. The feast between the Pilgrims and the Wampanoag Native Americans lasted for 3 days, during which both parties contributed to the meal. Though there are few records of the actual meal, it is known that the Pilgrims hunted for local fowl, swans included, and the Wampanoag brought 5 deer. And it's thought that lobster and seal were likely involved due to the availability in the area. And it's also known that lobster were thought of kind of as a junk seafood. It was readily available, but they didn't think much of it. Boy, have things changed, right? Pumpkin pie has been beloved for a long, long time, although it isn't America's favorite pie. Records show that people have been cooking up pumpkin pies since the 1600s. Pumpkins were likely at the first Thanksgiving, although probably not in pie form. And the dessert has been an important part of Thanksgiving meals since the 1700s. One Connecticut town even postponed the holiday in 1705 due to a molasses shortage that prevented people from making pies. Oh my goodness, how could you not have a pie on Thanksgiving? However, the American Pie Council is putting an end to the pumpkin versus apple pie debate. According to their research, the apple pie is still America's favorite, with pumpkin coming in second. And I do like both. I like apple a little bit more, but I still like both. Thanksgiving Day football games began in the 1870s. Turkey Day football began long before the country could watch the sport on TV. In fact, football wasn't even a professional sport when the Thanksgiving Day tradition took hold. In 1876, Yale played Princeton in the first ever Thanksgiving Day football match. At that point, the sport was still evolving from a rugby hybrid into the game we know today. Games stayed on the college and high school level for nearly 50 years. Eventually, when the National Football League was founded in 1920, it began hosting as many as 6 Thanksgiving matches every year. And here's some running facts about Thanksgiving. 32. The percentage increase of Turkey Trot runners over the past 5 years. 1,400 plus. Number of Turkey Trot races around the country. 901,753. Number of finishers at Turkey Trots around the United States in 2015. And that number's gone up. I'll tell you more about that in a bit. 17.5. Number of minutes it takes to run off the number of calories in an 8-ounce serving of turkey. 47. Number of minutes it takes to run off the calories in a slice of pumpkin pie. 2024 was a record-breaking year for turkey trots. Now, the biggest United States running day of the year is Thanksgiving, and the biggest day ever for running in the U.S. was Thanksgiving last year, 2024, when 1,109,909 people participated in 936 races across the country, raising more than $3.1 million in charities. Those record-shattering numbers represented an increase of 21%, more than 189,000 people compared to the previous record set in 2023. Diving into the numbers, it appears that the increase is due to growing markets share in run sign-up, new turkey trots entering the market, and per race growth. And these numbers come from the runsignup.com link, and I'll share that on the website, martharunsaworld.com, which is going to be active until January, which I am going to be shutting it down, and I'll talk about that at the end of the show. Run Sign Up continues to increase registration market share. To the best that they can ascertain, approximately 65 Thanksgiving Day races moved to Run Sign Up from other platforms in 2024. The second area of potential growth is that brand new Turkey Day races popped up. There were at least 70 new races that came up in last year. They also saw that existing races are growing, and for this, they compared the participation numbers of existing races and saw that they were that the races were up averages of 12% as compared to 2023. And this is really good news, showing that races have not only recovered from the very dismal numbers from COVID, but they are just booming, and this is awesome for runners. One huge fact that Run Sign Up found out is that turkey trots are rooted in the community. Most of them are small and usually have 10K numbers or 10Ks or 5Ks, so they're shorter distances and they're small. They raise money for the area that they're in, and the people on Thanksgiving like that idea. They like the idea that turkey trots are usually, not always, but usually community-based. They raise money for charities in the area. It goes back to giving thanks and giving back. Giving back is one of the ways we runners say thank you the best, I think. And it is standard to say thanks at this time of year. I'm not a big holiday person, if I'm truthful. I don't go by a calendar to tell me when to do something. I know a lot of people like that reminds them to do things during the year. For example, I don't like Valentine's Day at all. I think it's a terrible idea for a holiday. I don't think you should go by the calendar to tell your loved ones you love them. I don't think, oh, here's a day on the calendar. Go buy your loved ones some chocolates and roses, especially flowers. You give flowers in February in the middle of winter. What kind of idea is that? Okay, well, I guess it's good for the rose industry because they can charge you triple. I think it's terrible. I'm not going to go into my Valentine's Day rant. I'll save that for February. I'll do that sometime in another show. But I don't like the idea of Hallmark holidays, as I call them. I know Thanksgiving isn't that. I understand that. And I know Christmas isn't that as well, but I'm not really big on holidays like that because it's like, "Oh, here's the day on the calendar. Do something different than you do every other day." It's just kinda weird to me. I think you should be a good person all year. I think you should give thanks every day, and I know we runners really do. We don't take our running for granted at all, or we shouldn't. Maybe we do when we're young, and then we realize that, yes, we're not always gonna be able to run. We're not always gonna be able to do this wonderful thing. We're not always going to be able to push our limits. Someday, this isn't gonna be around. That's why I'm not the biggest holiday person. I feel a little guilty for doing what I'm gonna be doing right now, but I am gonna give thanks. I'm gonna be doing exactly what I said I shouldn't be doing. But, yeah, I'm gonna be doing this just because it is the Thanksgiving Day show, and I do love Thanksgiving. It is my favorite holiday, and I think this is part of what I do on Thanksgiving. Like I said, I give thanks every day I get up, and I give thanks every single morning when I get up. So it isn't something that I do differently just for Thanksgiving. There are 2 things that saved my life. The first thing was becoming sober. I gave up alcohol and drugs. Well, drugs weren't really a problem for me. It was the booze, the alcohol was the problem. And I gave that up over 20 years ago in June of 20 years ago. So it's been like 20 and a half years ago that I gave it up. And I thank God every day for that. It was a gift. It was the best thing I ever did because without sobriety, I couldn't do anything else. And if you were thinking about being sober, if you want to become sober, if you need help, you can always email me at martharunstheworld@gmail.com and I will help you. I will give you any guidance you want. I'm here for you if you need that. Here's a saying that we have, and it's true. No one regrets saying they became sober. No one. People say they regret having drinks. People say they regret getting drunk. People say they regret what they did when they were drunk, but no one ever regrets getting sober. It's true. Sobriety did save my life because I don't think I would be alive if I was still drinking. I was reckless and very self-destructive. I was angry. A lot of things I was just upset about in my life, and I had worked with that. I worked with my sponsor. I worked with the steps. I got through all my issues. I'm working on some of them, but most of them they're down to just ironing out the wrinkles, let's just say. So I'm doing okay. Life is good. Life is beautiful, as I like to say. That never would happen had I not chosen sobriety. Now, running has saved my life in more subtle ways. I was a runner when I drank, so it wasn't like I started running when I got sober. I started taking running more seriously when I got sober, though, because I ran when I was in college and I was still drinking. So I drank when I drank after I ran, and I drank before I ran. So I ran in all kinds of states when I was young because you can do that when you're 20s. You can't do that when you get older. You really can't. But running is that constant friend who's always there. Even when we ignore running, it's still waiting patiently for us. Sure, it might get cranky and you might have a hard time getting started running again, but it's still there for you. It may be really hard, and it may tell you, if you ignore us, we're going to make it hard for you, but it's still there. When you start running again after long absence and you get through that crankiness, you realize how much you love running and you say, thank you for being here for me. I love you. And you get into that whole friendship, love relationship with running all over again. I feel blessed to be able to run. It's a privilege to run. Running is a gift from God or a gift from the heavens, or even if you don't believe in God, it's a gift that nature gives us. Because you got to believe in nature, right? It's a gift that we are given as humans, as animals, as moving beings, as moving creatures. We are given this gift of muscles and bones and everything that all puts us together. We're given this gift of motion, and it's a wonderful gift, and I am so blessed to be able to do this thing called running. With all the surgeries and problems I've had over the recent years, and I can still do it, I'm happy. I am very, very happy. And, yeah, it's not always the most fun thing, and it's not the same as it was before all my stuff, but I can still do it. So that alone makes me very, very happy. And I don't care if it's the same. If I can just get out there and do it, I will. Even though I'm older, I'm very thankful that my body still works fairly well, and I can still lose weight, and I can still go out there and move. And I'm not bragging or anything, but I'm also very thankful that my mind is functional enough to learn things and functional enough to keep moving, and that technology is not freaking me out, and I'm not one of those people who can't learn new stuff. Because I know people like that, and it's like I'm going, "Really? We're the same age? Really?" Another way I'm thankful I'm a runner came up this week. Now, I'm in a group for people who want to be frugal in retirement and learn how to be frugal in retirement. I'm not retired yet. I'm 66. I'm gonna retire in 2 years when I'm 68. I have to save up enough money. I'm still working full time. I need to save up a little bit more money, and I will do that in a couple years. Now, many of these people in the group have the attitude that they can't begin to live their lives until they're retired. Well, great. They say, one person says, "Hi, I'm going to retire this year." And the other people says, "Great, then you can begin to live." And I wonder about that. I said, "You haven't been living this whole time in your life? You think life only begins in your retirement? What have you been doing your whole life? Have you just been working, eating, and sleeping? Have you not enjoyed anything in your life? Is your life a whole waste?" I don't get that at all. That's such a foreign concept to me. My life began when I drew my first breath, or before that, some people think, but I'm not getting into that because that's a whole different subject. I'm certainly not going to wait until retirement to think that my life begins. My life is here. Our lives are here now. Enjoy your life right this moment. Even if your life is kind of sucky right now, there's something that's good in it. And for us runners, even if everything sucks and you can run, go out and run. And if you're injured, and I'm sorry you are, or if you're sick and you can't, then watch some videos about running and look towards the day that you can start running again. We need to look forward to something positive. We need to look forward to good things. And we know that as runners, we think differently than non-runners. I'm not gonna say normal people, but we aren't normal, we know that. But we know how hard we work at our day jobs, us runners. But no matter how hard our jobs are, and no matter how difficult our lives are, we still run, and that makes our lives complete. That means that we have something outside of our work, outside of our daily doldrum jobs, whatever they are, outside of everything else. We still have a life. Our lives, our careers, making money is not our whole life. I just find that so sad that some people think that that is their whole life. They definitely need to read Jack Kerouac, I'll tell you. They really, really need to get some perspective in life. Making money is not a life. Making money is what a machine does. It's not what a human does. I'm sure it's good to make money and it's good to support your family. It's good to do that, but that is not a life. That's not living. That's existing. That's merely being. That is not breathing in the air. That is not enjoying this world. Travel before you retire. Don't wait to travel once you're retired. I don't know if you've ever seen the documentary Barkley, the race that eats its young, but one of the runners in that race, he talks about his parents and why he entered the Barkley race and the Barkley Marathons, why he entered it, is that he talked about his parents, is that they had saved up for retirement for this big cruise, and right before they went on the cruise, right before his dad retired, he passed away. So they could never do it. They could never do this whole thing they saved up for retirement because he passed away. So don't wait to retirement to do things. Don't wait this long. You have your life and you don't know how, nothing is guaranteed. So do things before you retire. Enjoy your life beforehand because you're not guaranteed anything. So I hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful Thanksgiving and holiday season. And I will be back for special episodes throughout the coming weeks. May your running and all that you do be amazing. May you have fun races and spend time with your friends and family and have a good few weeks and months coming up. And I know it's going to be dark and cold, but we will stay warm and we will stay in, we will be in good spirits. And if you're having a hard time, just go out for a run and think of something that positive that will get you through, because it's not an easy time for everyone. Not everyone has a good time during this time of year. I have not always had a good time during during the holidays. It's a hard time for some people. And just think of one or two things that will keep you positive or keep your head up and keep you going, because there are people who care about you. Truly, there are. And I was going to talk about there's a small change to the podcast. It's not going to affect the podcast itself at all. I am going to shut down the website. I just don't really need the website anymore, and it's costing me money. And as I go into retirement or move towards retirement, I have to really cut back on my expenses. So that's one of the things I'm going to cut out. There will be a different link to get to the website if you want to listen to it on a website itself. It will be a direct link to the show host, which is Buzzsprout. It'll be a little bit longer link, but it won't hurt anything. It'll have all the same show information as always. It'll have the same links and the same show information. It just won't be an easy one that I can spout on the show website. You'll just have to look for it in the show notes. And I'll just put the link will be in the show notes is the only thing I'll be able to tell you. Sorry about that. I'm sure you also heard the first ad on my show. I have a new YouTube channel called Hidden West. It's something I've been wanting to do for a very long time. I love living in the Western United States. I've often thought of moving, but when I thought of moving away from the West, when push comes to shove, I knew I wouldn't be able to do it. I'm a Westerner through and through. My roots are here, my heart is here, and I love the wide open spaces of where I live. Hidden West is about the Western U.S. history, places, the people, and events that you might not have heard of, or maybe you heard of but didn't know the details. It's also about current happenings and things to come. It's a fun, fascinating look at where I call home and where many other people call home, and it's a lot of fun. I've been working on it for a while. It's going to be a great YouTube channel, so check it out. And I'll have a link for that as well. All right, that is it for today's show, and thank you so much. And I hope you have a wonderful Thanksgiving and a wonderful upcoming weeks, and we will talk soon. And on that note, let's tie up our shoelaces and go for a run.